Hello there.
When you think of the Hutts, what is the first thing that pops into your mind? Is it a fat, overweight slug, a crime lord, or is it a fierce warrior or a Jedi? If you guess all of them, you'd be right. We will be talking about the first and only Jedi Hutt to exist in Star Wars. This Hutt was the first of its species to be Force sensitive and joined the Jedi Order and went on to survive Order 66. Beldoria the Hutt was born and joined the Jedi Order sometime around 400 BBY, where he would spend most of his youth training in the ways of the Force in the Jedi Youngling Academy. While not much is known about his time as a Jedi, we do know sometime during the High Republic era, he is turned into a Jedi Knight and was soon sent on a mission to the planet of Nam Chores with a fellow Jedi named Kazelda. After arriving on the planet, the pair would discover a strange crystal known as the Seal Stones. Beldoria would discover that these rocks had the ability to enhance his powers with the Force. After discovering that crystal, Beldoria would soon discover that these rocks had an ability to enhance the Force. After discovering that, his Hutt nature would overcome him and would give in to his greed, allowing the dark side to take over him. He would there fight and defeat his Jedi companion, and decided to stay on Nam Shores for the rest of his life, where he would there establish his own kingdom and become the ruler of it, using his enhanced Force abilities to force the people into slavery. Now Dark Jedi, Beldoria would largely be forgotten by the galaxy on his backwater world, and would manage to survive Order 66 due to this. But with no interference from the Empire, he would continue to rule over his planet with an iron fist, and did absolutely everything he desired, swimming in his greed. But the world was also home to its native species, known as the Drakis. These tiny little insects would bury themselves deep within the skin of their hosts, growing inside of them. One such Drak would be genetically mutated to take on a humanoid form. It was called Dizim. It went before Beldoria and conspired with him, helping him to remain in power, stopping all threats to his kingdom. In exchange, though, for access to the planet's rare stone. But little did Beldoria know, Dizim was secretly planning on using the stones to prepare his people for an invasion of the entire galaxy, putting both the New Republic and the Empire at a great risk. Dizim planned for his people to flood every planet and take control over every living thing. In the year 13 ABY, Luke, Han, Leia, and Chewbacca would travel to the world to put a stop to this epic plot. To make a long story short, Leia would be captured by the Hutt, though she would eventually gain her freedom and retrieve her lightsaber, and would engage Beldoria in a fierce duel with the Hutt Jedi. Even though Force sensitivity does not often reside in the Hutts, Beldoria was extremely powerful in the Force. But because Dizim was feeding off his Force energy, he was in an incredibly weakened state, and his abilities were greatly decayed to the point where he had difficulty levitating small objects from time to time. But his mind abilities were still very sharp, as he could use the Force to inflict migraines on his servants who displeased him. It was even said that he had a hypnotic gaze that would dominate the minds of those he looked at. But Leia was able to resist his mind games. Despite being incredibly weakened from most of his power, Beldoria was still capable of summoning a massive Force storm that even the most powerful Sith Lords could not conjure up. Surprisingly, he was an excellent lightsaber duelist, possibly being trained in Form 7. Unlike most Hutts, Beldoria was not fat. Instead, he used the Force to maintain his youth and enhance his strength, sticking to the ancient warrior's physique of his ancestors. Leia would battle the Hutt in a brief duel and would emerge victorious, but not without immense struggle. Beldorian wielded his purple lightsaber with great skill and power and managed unconventional strikes in the last minute, and also possessed extreme physical strength, almost breaking Leia's wrists each time they clashed blades. However, due to the fact that he allowed so much of his Force energy to be taken away from him, it finally caught up to him and allowed Leia, who's only been partially trained in the ways of the Force, to outmatch the Hutt, and there he would be killed. In conclusion, Beldoria was not only the first Jedi or Sith, but the only one of his species to be Force sensitive in all of Star Wars history. And it does make sense, and that, my friends, is the story of the first ever Force-sensitive Hutt Jedi. What were your guys' thoughts on Beldorian the Hutt? Would you like to see him in live action? I feel like that'd be a horrifying experience, but it would be super cool. But let me know in the comments what you'd like to see next, and with that, my fellow Star Wars nerds, may the Force be with you.